Lance4v Show. Today's date is Sunday, May the 15th, 2011. I'm your host, Lance Bell. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can always visit me on my Facebook page at the Lance4v Show, or you can go to my blog at Lance's Political World at blogger.com. Excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the 2-year anniversary show. Now, I apologize for being tape delayed up front. There was issues with the software on my end, and I totally apologize for that. For those of you that are watching me right now, I'd like to say thank you for 2 wonderful years on the Lance4v Show. Now, there's a few items I want to talk about today. The first one is the big one, which everybody's been talking about, is they got Osama a couple of weeks ago. And we all know that. You know, it's not the issue with that. I've talked about this on my blog. It's one of those ones to where, okay, we got him, that everybody wants to take credit or blame on the situation. A lot of it is also, and this is what makes me mad, is that some people, and I'm referring to conservatives in this situation, want to see pictures of this. Now, my complaint was this, and you have to think about this also. Let's assume that we show the pictures, and the pictures are legitimate, because people are saying it's a conspiracy theory, and I don't really think it is. Because why would the president get on TV at 11:45 at night to announce this? And there's my issue. Now, you have to look at it to where is this. If we show the pictures, you just turn somebody into a martyr. And I don't care what you say and how you do it, that's going to happen. I mean, that's how you have to look at it. Now, Ohio Representative Tim Ryan said in the Youngstown Vindicator a few days ago that select people in Congress got to see the pictures. He said they were pretty gruesome. Now that tells me right there that, hey, they got him. It was the real deal. And you shouldn't see these pictures. And the other issue I have with this is this. And let's assume that we show those pictures. On top of the martyr, did we set ourselves up? And here's the reason why I say that. We pretty much we're going to set ourselves up for something really, really, really bad. Now, they were saying they found evidence that they're going to that he was planning another attack. Now I've seen trains, but they also said they found pornography too and stuff, so I don't know. So you have to look at it from that standpoint. Well, not the pornography standpoint, but he was setting something else up. And the other issue is the Pakistani government on this. And I know they're mad, and they retaliate by, well, Al-Qaeda did by bombing, And that's something you have to take into effect. So maybe they were planning something, Pakistani was something, maybe they were just dumb as a box of rocks, and they didn't know he was here. And I've actually said this. Sometimes the best hiding is in full plain sight. Because if you're in plain sight, nobody's going to pay attention. But you have that going on today. Or here in the last couple of weeks, Now, ladies and gentlemen, what else has been going on here is the 2012 elections. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's 2011, and it's starting to heat up. Now you have all these people running, or trying to run, and I've talked about this. I've talked about it on my radio show. I've talked about this on my blog. The one funny thing I've seen the entire time about this was a video that Political.com had about this. And they asked one very simple question. They walked up to this random person, and gave them a list of pictures to look at. And basically was, do you know these people? And the person had no idea who any of them was. That tells me one thing. And the other thing that tells me is that if you look at people on television, talk about the field itself, and they're talking about it being very weak. Now I've said that the field right now is not very good. And I know who's in there so far. I mean, Newt jumping back in this, and I talked about that. Newt was I think he's trying to get his day in the sun. And that's okay, and I totally understand that. But come on, you better than that. Now, I think that Mr. Paul has a very good chance. It all depends what happens this summer. Now, my question is, we're starting so early, and the president's starting, even though we know he's a shoo-in unless he totally screws up. Are you actually going to go out there for these primaries and vote on them? On the primaries themselves, not the election. And my other question is, do you really care? Are we totally zoned out of these primaries and they're being on TV all the time and and the finger pointing and the smashing? Do you, as the American public, really care? Because I know I don't. I mean, you can go out there and be like the Rush Limbaughs, the Glenn Becks, the Sean Hannitys, and just bash progressives all you want. You can do all the yelling and screaming, but whatever happened to talk about liking this tone here as a normal, everyday adult in a good quality discussion? And that's very lost these days in politics. Now, speaking of politics, the president had his weekly address yesterday. Now, he talked about the whole quote-unquote task force on big oil and how he got these tax subsidies. Now, before anybody goes out there and say, well, they're going to raise taxes on the oil companies, going to raise costs, wait a minute. You can't call that outright tax raise if you're taking away tax breaks that they already have. If taxes go up, absolutely. But you're basically calling it a tax raise on something they might or might not have should have gotten in the first place. Now, will it will raise prices? Remains to be seen. Now, gas goes to $4.50, $5 a gallon this summer. This country shuts down, and I'll talk about that in a different program. Now, as far as this big oil, when the president was on TV, he got on. He basically said he's opening up, golf drilling, or at least the leasing, and the same thing in Alaska. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please understand something. I don't care if you're conservative, if you're progressive, if you're independent like me. You have to understand something. Now, okay, let me start that over. Ladies and gentlemen, if I took a shovel out of my closet right now, walked up to Alaska, put my foot and the shovel in the dirt right now, you are 15 years away from full capacity. And that's where everyone seems to forget. It's not that easy. Everybody's talking about drill, baby, drill. No. The full capacity, even then, we don't know what's going to happen because obviously it's the future. So you have to keep that in mind. Because even if we did that, we're years away. And I know it's the president looking good on television, and I completely and totally understand that. So you have to keep that in mind. A lot of it, and we also have to find other avenues as far as renewable energy. Now, I know that we're working on that right now. You have, you got hybrids out there right now. Now, that's a start. You got that. The president wants to bring CAFE standards up to have high fuel economy. That works also. But you have to look at other sources. Now, I've heard everything from solar to hydrogen. Now, that's a start. Here's what I propose. If the technology is not there, even though I think it is, if it's not there, let's make it like the X Prize for space exploration. Put the big money out there to prove it and be mass produced. Honestly, I don't think that companies out there want to do it. I don't think the government wants to do it. But that's okay. That's a whole different scenario you have to look at. As far as that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're about 10 minutes into the Lance Bell Presents show on a special anniversary show. Now, there's some news and notes I want to go over. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, I've been working on a couple of books, I want to get a little bit into television and those situations. Now we're going to have some guests here hopefully this summer. We're going to have some nice discussions, and I hope I'll be able to run live. Obviously, if you've seen me on my Facebook page today, is that we were having some production problems, and that's okay. Because why yell? Why get crazy? Why anything like that when you don't have to? And I'm taking this foray in the media, in the visual media, because I don't know if anybody caught it. I put a video out about a week and a half ago stating that, I want to do television full time. And I ain't talking about locally either. I decided, you know what, I'm going to go all the way with this. I said that I want Glenn Beck's television spot, as in its time slot. And I've had people who's been supportive of me, and I completely and totally thank you for that. But as you can see, I'm not a yeller. I'm not a screamer. I might get angry, but I'm not those. And sometimes I honestly believe I have one very big advantage. And here's what it is. Why play party lines when you don't have to? It is what it is. I mean you, as an American citizen, or anybody around the world for that standpoint, has the right to know the truth. You don't have to play party lines. You don't have to do anything like that. So why? And I honestly believe that you can go for sensational and ratings that's short-term solutions for long-term problems. So you might be consistent, easygoing about it, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stay with 3 very simple rules when it comes to that. Number 1, stick to your guns. And here's what I mean by that. If you say you're going to do it, do it. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't throw softball questions. And don't expect it non-answer answer. Like I just said, ladies and gentlemen, the people have the right to know. Number 2, be yourself. Why push an agenda you don't want to or don't have to? Because when you do that, you've already lost. And 3 is where everybody makes a big mistake at when they're on television or on radio. Never, ever think you're bigger than the show. My executive producer, Captain Coyote, talked about this with me one time. Because there was a time that I got totally mad on my radio program, and he pretty much laid the lumber down. So that he brought me back into the reality that never, ever forget where you came from. I know I've been long in the tooth a little bit, and you're about 13 and a half minutes into the program. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I wrap this show up, like I said, I want to thank you for the 2 years that I've had with the Lance Bell Presents show. I would like to thank the guests I have had, Hallie Casser-Jane and Michael Mates. I'd like to thank my listeners, my executive producer, Captain Coyote. I'd like to thank, on today's program, Garrett Fleeman, who's let me use his internet and video connection for the program. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see more of me in the upcoming weeks and months, hopefully. I'd like to thank you for the Lance Bell Presents show here on this Sunday, May the 15th, 2011. Thank you, and be careful, and remember, fear the root.